This month, a mighty storm blows away an airship, and, over France, a pioneer of aviation makes a record-breaking flight in one of the first successful helicopters. That and more on Old News. The Shenandoah was a rigid airship commissioned by the United States Navy. This enormous ship was among the first to use helium in place of hydrogen, and in filling the ship's 2.1 million cubic feet of gas cells, a huge chunk of the world's helium supply was spent on just a single vessel. The ship was commissioned on the 4th of September 1923, and the Navy had big plans. The ship was built at Lakehurst and was bound for the vast, freezing expanse of the Arctic. On the 16th of January 1924, a major storm tore its way across the United States. The Shenandoah, moored at Lakehurst Air Station, was battered by the strong winds. Though the ship was designed to withstand these gales, her commander, Frank R. McCrary, ordered all of her crew on board. A timely decision since, at 6:30 in the evening, the 70-mile-per-hour gusts tore the ship from her moorings. The ship careened across the airfield, her nose near the ground, and hurtling towards the trees. Captain Heinen, who was on the bridge, instantly perceived her dire situation and dumped 4,000 pounds of water ballast. Though she barely cleared the trees, she still couldn't climb, and in a desperate bid to save the ship, they jettisoned 3 gasoline tanks. Observers on the ground could only watch as the ship disappeared. Her radio mast was damaged by the wind, and without communication, grave misgivings soon began to circulate about her fate. The ship had been missing for hours, and the situation seemed dire. The winds could have carried her a great distance, and there was no guarantee she had gone down near the field. Then, later that evening, at 10 minutes past 9, Mitchell Airfield picked up a signal.
All okay. We're right at the storm. Think we are over New Brunswick. Holding our own. Verify position and send us weather information.
The ship had risen to safety after dumping her tanks and was drifting somewhere over Newark. People scrambled to find it. Radio stations stopped their broadcasts, and every searchlight in New York was trained at the sky. Everyone was looking for the Shenandoah. By the time she reached New York, the weather had cleared. Her crew manoeuvred her over Staten Island, then over to Perth Amboy and on to Freehold. From there, they rode the wind back to Lakehurst. At 3:20 the next morning, the ship and her crew were safely on the ground. Captain Heinen said, "I do not believe any other ship in which I have flown would have successfully gone through the gale she did." The captain praised her handling, having brought the ship under perfect control less than 5 minutes after breaking from the mast. Unfortunately, she did not emerge unscathed. The winds had torn away one of the aft fins, and the damage took over 4 months to repair. Because of this, the expedition to the Arctic was cancelled. However, the Shenandoah had demonstrated a remarkable ruggedness, and had proven beyond doubt that as long as she is fueled and provisioned, she is safe and at home, right where she belongs, up in the air. Almost as soon as the first man took to the skies in his flying machine, another looked on, and no doubt he thought, "I could go higher than that." And so the stage was set to see who could fly the highest. This led to a competition to see who could fly the highest with the heaviest payload. In January 1924, this record was set by a Russian pilot named Otto Balod, flying a Fokker C-4, which was a Dutch-built aircraft. The first record for this type of endeavour was set in 1921 by a French pilot carrying a payload of 250 kilograms to a height of 6,782 meters. Otto would compete for the record of 500 kilograms, a record that was first set in February 1923 by a French pilot, Jean Casale. But the record to beat was set by another man named Robert Thierry at 5,992 meters. So on the 19th of January 1924, Otto took flight near Buenos Aires, climbing through the fair weather with his 450 horsepower Napier engine working at full pelt. He climbed all the way to 6,485 meters, busting through the previous record by a comfy 493. Otto was no doubt proud to have made it, but as is often the case in the age of great pioneers, this record was broken again just a few months later. It is worth remembering that everything we take for granted today was once the potentially lethal contraption of a wide-eyed inventor, and the helicopter in this regard is no different. The earliest helicopters were simple machines powered by steam engines, the first of its kind being made by Enrico Folanini, whose lightweight model managed to fly as early as 1877. As the technology improved, various organisations offered rewards to encourage engineers to push for ever more daring feats. One such reward was offered by the Aéroclub de France, with 10,000 francs for the first helicopter to fly further than 1 kilometre. The rules were simple. The aircraft had to travel the distance and it couldn't touch the ground. Pateres Pescara was an Argentinian engineer, lawyer and inventor whose family had moved to South America from Europe in the early 20th century, then returned to France. Pateres joined with French inventor Gustave Eiffel, and yes, that is how the Eiffel Tower got its name. It was built by his company. Pateres spent his days tinkering with designs, and by 1919 he had filed several patents for various coaxial helicopters. A coaxial helicopter being a contraption with two sets of rotor blades, one above the other, rotating in opposite directions. On the 16th of January, his design, dubbed the number 2F, took flight. A contra-rotating screw helicopter consisting of 4 sets of biplane wings mounted atop 2 rotating shafts. The design may have looked ungainly, but it flew, setting a new record for helicopter flight of 8 minutes and 13 seconds. But what made the number 2F so special was not its flight time, but its method of flying. Earlier helicopter designs, such as the Cornu and the Elhammer, required a separate form of propulsion to move forward. The main blades could only take them up and down. Pateres changed this by implementing a revolutionary design called the cyclic. The device allowed Pateres to rotate the blades and direct the flow of air to move the aircraft. The genius of the cyclic is that it doesn't rotate all of the blades in the same way, but rotates each blade differently, depending on where it is in the cycle. This incredible machine was also capable of auto-rotation, where the blades will automatically rotate if the engine stops, to act as wings, ensuring that the aircraft can make a safe landing, even without power. Both of Pateres' inventions are still in use on helicopters today. On the 29th of January, the machine was ready for its big day. Pateres took his Model 2F to an area in the south of Paris. With his witnesses nearby and the press watching intently, he was going for the cash prize. His machine took off and sailed down the field. The weather didn't help him, as winds battered the helicopter. With the previous success fresh in his mind, he lumbered his machine around the flagman who marked the 500-metre point and set off back, powering through the gusty winds and crossing the finish line with a flight time of 10 minutes and 33 seconds. He had done it. The first man in history to fly a helicopter over 1 kilometre. However, in a shocking twist, he didn't win. Unfortunately, due to the winds, the helicopter had briefly tapped the ground during its flight, and the rules were clear. no part of the aircraft was allowed to touch the ground. Despite his success, officials refused to recognise his achievement and the prize was withheld. But don't feel too bad. In April, he tried again, and that time around, he got it. So there you have it. If you made it this far, then don't forget to hit the like button, and if you missed last month's, you can watch that over here. But that's all from me, and I'll see you in the next one.